So today, I'm sure you've all heard the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. Nobody's expecting. We both still identify as men. But we're going to talk about what do you expect in the business? Like when you get into the business, when you're signing up, maybe you're watching this video considering the insurance industry, what to expect in it in the face-to-face, final expense, Medicare type capacity. And then in that vein, what hasn't worked? Things Waylon has seen that people have tried, and he already knew it wasn't going to work, but he's seen time and time again certain things that definitely don't work. So how does that sound today, Waylon?
Sounds good. Looking forward to it, Chris. Thank you for clarifying to everyone that we both identify as male. I appreciate the intro and definitely agree with that.
Man, that'd be an awkward transition if I turned out it wasn't the case for you today.
It would be awkward, and it would be a transition. Good play on words.
Speaking of transitions, let's just say I'm in the business. I've just gotten my license. I've decided to come work with you. I'm going to sell final expense face-to-face in the field to get started. What should I expect from the final expense industry in general?
Absolutely. So I'll preface all of this that you choose who you work with, especially in final expense or really any area that you want to start in insurance, by the system that they have. That should be one of the first things that you see, or be one of the top 3 or 4 reasons that you choose to work with someone is like, what's their system? So the expectation that you can have, or a realistic expectation, is one, freedom. We talked about it this morning on our call, and it goes along with the holiday that's coming up tomorrow. You do have freedom. You absolutely have pretty much full autonomy, and you have freedom to choose the days you work, the hours you work, the carriers you write, the contracts you sign, all of that. Now, however, that comes with a pretty steep price, meaning that, again, back to system that we'll talk about more here. If you're working just this autonomous, I do what I want whenever I want lifestyle system, and final expense, that's the quickest way to fail because of the nature of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember a guy who would have this philosophy of, I'm independent, which means I don't have to do what you say, listen to what you've done. Independent meant way larger than what it really meant. Mm-hmm. And then he would work 2 and 3 weeks and would sell a boatload of business, buy leads, talk to people, like really work hard, and then be gone for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. And the problem with that is it seemed like you could do that. You could design your own business, but you constantly were debt chasing because there wasn't any even keel to what you were doing.
Yep.
You could work 2 or 3 days and take 2 or 3 off, but 2 or 3 weeks then gone. It just didn't seem like it was ever going to work, and it eventually turned into roll-up debt.
Yep.
So what are some examples of things that are not a system?
So there's several things. So number one is let's buy as many B leads in an area as we can and just jump from area to area. It's not really a system. That's a quick way to make a fast ROI or profit once you're talented and have mastered a system. Warm market, regardless of what everyone wants to talk about on TikTok or whatever, that's not a system. Not everybody has a bunch of high net worth friends. Hell, some people that get in the business don't have any friends. So warm market isn't a system. Okay, that's insane. There's several things. Really, to identify a system, it's a couple things. One is consistency, as far as what are the main attributes and can you consistently get them? Are the resources to keep the system working available regularly? 2, is there someone who followed that exact path and is consistently making money, like doing it? Like, are they actually doing it? I can tell you, Chris, since we've started working together, has taken the same amount of leads pretty much every week for 3 years. It hasn't changed. Whether he's on vacation or not, it doesn't change. And that's why he's successful. That's why he makes a very good living doing what he does. So that's a system. A system is identifying a system is it a consistent thing where the resources needed to keep the system working or available? And are there other people doing it that have proven the concept that the system works? That's really what you're looking for.
How about those producers, the steady 2,500 to 3K a week, average, consistent final expense folks? versus those 10K or bust kind of people that write a lot but also cause a lot of drama. Where do you see the dichotomy with those two?
Yeah, it's a really interesting dichotomy because agencies are built with both people on both ends of that spectrum. You need your $8, $10, $12,000 a week producers. However, they are typically the ones causing not all of the drama, but the majority. If there's issues, you can nearly always point to the $10,000 a week producer, for better or for worse. It's probably a volume thing. They're dealing with more people. They're probably more stressed out. There's a lot more going on in that $10,000 a week producer's head, typically, if they're doing it the right way, than a $3,000 a week producer. However, there's a ton, an absolute immense amount of value in a $3,000 a week producer. That's how Rome is built as far as empires and insurance. Our $3,000 a week producers that do it week in, week out. Buy their 20 leads, right there, 3,000. Buy their 20 leads, right there, 3,000. Always in the back, shadow a little bit, not causing problems, just going to work, making a very good living, making six figures and happy. You can build a freaking empire with people like that because, number one, they're consistent. Number two, a lot of times they're team players. And number three, they're doing things the right way. They're seeing the people. They're just not doing it at this crazy scale, but they're doing it 48 weeks out of the year, not 30, like a lot of the $10,000 a week producers become. It's like, oh, I did 10K this week. I'll take the next 2 weeks off and just relax. Listen, you do that $3,000 a week producer, they do 3 weeks of their 3K. It's more than your 1 week of 10. Sure, it's probably better business.
Sure is. Let's kind of transition from there into the idea of part-timers. Like, I think there's a misunderstanding. Nobody is really working in the field 40, 50, 60 hours a week. It's presentation based. Your hours in the field is irrelevant if you're not actually talking to people. But there's also people that do this part-time, like they have a full-time job or whatever, and they're only here a day a week, a day a month. And I feel like those people really have a hard time getting anywhere at any period of time. What are your theories on part-timers?
Absolutely. So the theory is simple. So what we do, insurance, sales, whether you're a natural born salesman or whatever, with what we do, there's other variables. It's not a car dealership where folks are coming to you. You're outside sales. You're out there talking about a foreign product. Our brain isn't wired to just understand insurance. That's not how anyone's wired. No one's an insurance robot. We're not ChatGPT insurance bots. So you take a week out of that, or 2 weeks or 3 weeks of not doing it, you come back and that rust is hard to shake off. I don't care how experienced you are. It's hard for me. And this is all I talk about. So like I take a day off and I'm like, oh, shoot, insurance. Wait a minute. I don't know what that is anymore. So you can imagine being a novice, not really having much experience under your belt. Part-time is exactly that. Like you can work as hard as you want for those 2 or 3 days a week that you're able to work, but you'll just truly never grasp it or have that mental consistency that's required to become an expert, because that's really what you become when you become higher income earning. Is you're just an expert now. There's no situation you haven't seen. After about 3 to 6 months of full-time final expense effort, you've seen everything. You've seen parrots in houses, pet monkeys. You've had people throw stuff at you. You've, been bit by a bed bug. Like there's been nasty stuff happen. You've seen everything. But part-time, you just don't get that experience, and your brain isn't able to become an expert. And that's what's required at the end of the day to be truly successful.
It's like the learning curve never gets a chance to curve because you're not in the curve long enough. And exactly. I'm not saying you can't make it part-time. I'm just saying I think people have very unrealistic expectations that this isn't really like a part-time type occupation.
Yep.
I asked this question to Nick on our Friday podcast. What do you think about the people that really don't need it the way others do, or the people that don't want it the way others do? And does that need and want have a lot to do with a person's chance at success?
Yeah, I think they're two very different things, needing and wanting, because I've seen a lot of people that needed it where I thought, man, I know they need it. They know they need it. Hell, everybody around them knows they need it, and they still didn't do the work. So I think wanting it probably trumps needing it, because need is a very variable thing. You could need money until you meet a spouse that has it. You could need whatever it is, resource, a place to stay until, again, you meet somebody that wants you to move in with them. Like there's different ways to unneed certain things. But if you want something, I'm insatiable about things I want. There's not very many things I want, but when I want something, I mean, it's really tough to keep me away from point A to point B. And that's where you really find the people that like kill it. Like they really just, they want it. They like, for whatever reason, the reason, who knows? Everybody's is different, but they just want it. They need it. They got to have it. There's no option. It's just, I'm going to get there and this is what I want. So I think that there is some congruency there with want and need. Typically people want it more if they need it. But I've met people that don't need anything. They just want it for whatever crazy reason. And sometimes I fall into that bucket and thankful for it. So people that want it typically outperform those that just might just need something.
How about if we're talking about what to expect getting started in the business? Do I need money to get started in the face-to-face or telesales final expense game?
Well, so you don't need it, but I wouldn't recommend really getting started without it. You either need money or balls, and I hate to say balls, but I mean it like it sounds. Like I had balls. I didn't really have money. I had a credit card. I put my lead deposit on a credit card, and thank God I did. Like I was nervous as I've ever been. I was so nervous. I was like, this is going to be terrible. I'm never going to pay this credit card off. I maxed it out, 4 weeks of leads, and I got 7 leads that 4th week. And I'm like, yeah, this probably isn't great, but it all worked out. So having faith, and you either got to have money or, like I said, some balls to yourself and be like, I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to bet on me. That's really the only 2 options, because longevity is needing it or wanting it, and also kind of putting it all on the line, because it does cost money to conduct business.
Yeah. Would you have made it if you had not put in a lead deposit or purchased leads the first opportunity you had?
No chance. Like my first year in the industry, I was cold door knocking. That's it. No leads. I had no access to leads. And I could have done that in final expense for my whole career. I probably never would have wrote over 120, 130 grand a year, even though I was very good at it. I never would have had any kind of consistent income or income within 60 days to be able to, like, literally, if you're on a lead program and you're good, you can make enough money to buy a new car, like a nice car, in 60 days. You literally can. You can be like, I want a new car. And 60 days later, it's like, I'm going to go get that car now. That's what a lead program does. Cold door knocking is just so up and down and sideways. You never know. You could have a 5K week and then a 0K week. You just never know. With leads, even if your leads suck, because they all do, right? Everybody hates leads. You know, you're going to write, if you're spending $800, you're going to write 3,000-4,000. Like if you go work, it's just how it goes.
Do I need money to get started in Medicare? I mean, there's a lot of conversation about grassroots marketing, which to me just seems like a really long burn at making above average income.
Yep.
Do I need money to start in the Medicare space?
So that's the beauty. So, I mean, I'll kind of plug ourselves a bit here, but one, the grassroots stuff does work. However, it's becoming a little saturated. I mean, you say grassroots loud enough. I'm in my office right now. If I say it loud enough, I feel like somebody's going to pop their head in and be like, yeah, I'll do a seminar. Like everyone wants to do grassroots because the idea of $0 marketing, right? Or $100 marketing, where you bring bingo cards, a dauber, and, you know, throw Doritos at people when they guess the right letter or whatever, right? You know, whatever. So you get a new car. So it works. However, as Chris said, it's a slow burn and it is becoming saturated. There's likely already I'm not trying to say don't do it. Like, do seminars when you can. When it's presented to you, do it. It's a great way to do it. But the one thing I'll tell you getting started, especially with an agency, is look at some of the programs they offer. With what we do, we offer pretty heavily subsidized Medicare leads, direct mail. Chris works them from time to time as well. We have really good success on them, and you can cross-sell from those. Those are some of your best final expense leads, honestly, or your Medicare clients. So I'll preface all that. Yes, you usually do, but with some of the stuff we do, and especially like rolling into AEP and everything with carrier co-op dollars, we're able to supply a lot of agents that are quality, that are going to work regularly and showing consistency, usually no cost marketing. So you can just go to work. All you got to focus on is selling.
Do I need money to get started if I wanted to sell? Sell is not the right word. Enroll people in ACA.
Yes, absolutely. ACA is the slowest burn. Like if ACA was a house fire, it would burn like 1 bedroom a month. Like you had a 4-bedroom house, it would take 4 months for that thing to burn down. That's ACA. I love ACA. ACA is an awesome business. And one of the coolest things about it is I get to tell people all the time, hey, look, I know you're great, whatever, you're killing it on Facebook, but if you ain't got like 6 months of money saved right around that, and just money to throw at something to turn it into more money in like 3 months, don't do it. Just don't do ACA. It's that simple. Don't do it. You have to have money to do ACA.
Lastly, since we're talking about what to expect in the business from kind of like a new person perspective, we're going to go through 4th of July tomorrow. There's holidays every month. You can make up your own holiday and take off for no good reason. But what would be a good philosophy for a new agent to decide for themselves? Can I take blank holiday off?
Good philosophy. Well, I mean, again, I'm a little bit of a maniac when it comes to my business. I don't really take holidays off because I look at any successful business. Is Amazon? So do me a favor. Here's a good way to see if your philosophy adds up or not. Go to your web or Google and search Amazon. See if it comes up. See if you can order something and have it delivered the next day. When's Amazon the busiest? Christmas. The biggest holiday where everyone just takes like a whole month off, it feels like. It's like, oh, New Year's is in 2 weeks. I'm not doing shit this week. or like Christmas is this month. I'm going to travel and just, not do anything. I can't wait for December. But Amazon, the biggest company in the world outside of maybe Apple, which same thing goes for them. The busiest time of year for the best companies is the holidays. You're a business when you start in this industry, and I'm not saying be a maniac and don't take any time off. Like that's ignorant. What I'm saying is just think about what those companies sacrifice to get to where they are, and just relate that to what you're doing. Again, not saying don't take any time off, but plan for it. As we talked about on the call this morning, like 4th of July is tomorrow. We're doing this today because we're planning for tomorrow. I'm sure we're both going to enjoy our day tomorrow. The carriers aren't open, so we're going to enjoy it. But we'll be right back at it Wednesday because we planned and we're not behind because of it.
Yeah, I use the philosophy because I worked New Year's Day one year after moving with I couldn't barely find a single thing in the house, but it was Monday. Like, I don't care if it's January 1st. I have nowhere to be. I need to be in the field. I wrote some business. And I don't do that now, but I think real simple. If you open up your bank account and your bank account is angry at you for looking at it, you probably need to go to work. I mean, it might sound like it sucks. You might be missing time here, but later on, the short-term sacrifice will yield long-term gain. But if you're not willing to make short-term sacrifices over certain times that others are off, but you should be on, you're never going to get to that point of long-term freedom. So open up your bank account. If you can't afford your leads on Friday, you can't afford your rent next month, and you can't afford to go out to dinner the day after, you should be in the field, as tough as that is a pill to swallow. So Waylon, before we go this morning, our last question that we like to do, biggest mistake you've witnessed in the field as anonymously as possible in the last 7 days.
Yeah, so this is, I actually thought about this one before you asked it this week, which, hey, we're getting better. So number one thing is it's twofold. It's lack of communication or miscommunication because of lack of communication. This is more of an agent to upline conversation. I've seen it happen like 20 times this last week where, we work in a hierarchy-based industry where you're going to have an FMO, carrier, FMO, agency owner, downline, typically is the way that a lot of places are set up, just for example's sake. Agent comes in the business, gets on a program, whatever that program is, the agency or, agency owner employs. The FMO supports that in some way, usually through a lead program or contract levels, whatever. Agent has a bad week, is pissed off at the upline because it's obviously the upline's fault that they made them buy leads and go to work. So they're trying to contact the upline's upline or go, skirt that person to try to get a differing opinion to make them feel better so that they can justify their lack of work ethic. That's just one example. There's 1,000 ways those conversations can go. It creates tension between the agency owner and the FMO or the upline, and also creates a lack of buy-in from the agent typically as well. So I say all that to say that the mistake there is not just thoroughly communicating with your direct upline and being honest. Be candid. I truly believe that the majority of uplines or anyone with an agency in this industry does want what's best for their agents. And it takes that agent being extremely candid. Like, hey, look, I spent $800. I only wrote $2,000. I'm broke. What can I do? That's way easier for me, for Chris, for anybody to help you, because at least you put in the effort and you're being honest, than it is to say, I spent $800. I wrote 2,000, or I spent $800. These leads suck. I hate this business. I'm calling your upline to see if they'll give me something. That's not good. So, but it happens way more often than you would actually believe. So just be candid, like be open, candid, honest with your direct upline, because a lot of times they have the resources and they want to help you if you're putting in the effort.
I wrote down here, even bad, tough, honest conversation is good communication. Like, it might be a conversation you don't want to have, makes everybody uncomfortable. You might have to resolve it a day later after sleeping on it, but it's no communication is probably the worst thing possible. Perfect way to wrap today's episode. Thanks for watching. Like the video, comment below, subscribe to the channel so we can continue to grow this and show this to folks who didn't even know that they needed it. Thanks for watching.